Well, good morning, people. How we feeling? Good. Y'all up early. You come out early. And the reason I know you're out here early, because I'm here with you. And thank you, sir. And if I'm here with you, that means we both here early. You guys want to continue this idea of transformation, discipleship, the process of lifestyle maturity? Y'all okay with that? There's two installments I want to do. So we did installment 1, installment 2, or session 1, session 2. This morning I want to do session 3 and session 4 with you. In session 3, we'll kind of highlight a couple of things that we've covered to relay the foundation, and then we're going to add new material. So I need you, if it looks like you say, well, he already did that, that's what it's going to look like, but it's doing that because I'm making sure we're having the same conversation. So I'm going to relay a couple of things, but I'm going to go through them faster than we did the last time. Then we'll add new information, and the new information that I need to share with you is the process that we go through. So really today is the day that we understand, okay, how does it look to do? We talked about what it is. Now let's talk about what that looks like in implementation. Make sense? And if we implement it, it becomes lifestyle, and if it becomes lifestyle, that means it's a process, which means it takes time. But you have to be willing or open to the idea that maybe there's something to it. And all I'm trying to do is show you how they did it in the Bible, and the results they got in the Bible. It just seems to me if we did something similar, you probably get the same results. You know what I mean? Yes, no? Okay. Let's try it. So last time I left you with the idea that the model that Jesus used was that he focused on a few. He didn't try to mass produce disciples. He focused on a few people. And what we're going to do in these two sessions, I'm going to review Jesus' model. We're going to add some things to it. And then in the next session, we're going to talk about how Paul takes that model and walks us to maturity. Jesus gets us to be disciples. Paul is going to take a disciple and mature them. Follow me? Okay. So Jesus focused on a few, and the idea was, how do I get the message? How do I get life? How do I get my mission into these people? And the focus is he shared that by showing that we got to do life together. That multiplication is not just trying to mass produce. I get a group of people in here, and then I share one thing to everybody one time, expecting life to change. Life changes in repetition. But I got to be exposed to something over and over. Make sense? So transmitting his life to others, how did he do that? They lived with him. They went where he went. They slept in the same area he slept. You follow what I'm saying? They're doing breakfast together. They're at Starbucks drinking coffee and those kinds of things. It's doing life. Okay? And some of the things that we talked about last time, okay, then how did he train them? It's life on life. We got to do life together. You know, it's hard to know somebody if I only see you a few hours in the week. Try building a relationship like that with somebody you love. I'm going to hang out with you an hour or two, twice a week. See how that works for you. You know what I mean? In a relationship. Now, we're talking about eternity kind of stuff. Okay. So in focusing on a couple of things I got. I just showed you this. Let me get past this. A couple of things I shared with you the last time is here's what we have to understand. Here's where the new information starts. If we're going to make this happen, transformation at its core, if we have to understand and adopt the idea that every believer is called into ministry. So that takes it out of the realm that it's the preacher's job, it's the elder's job, it's, the leader's job. Every believer is called into ministry because the working foundation, the working definition is the DNA of every healthy church is to make disciples who make disciples, which means if you are a disciple, you have been called into ministry to make disciples. The other thing that we have to embrace is you have to transition from being a participant in the audience to being a member of the army. So you can be spectators, and I'm going to talk to you about 4 types of disciples that we see. You can be a spectator, and you do it so long, and it's easier to call the play of the game when you're not in the game. You're looking at television and you see the football player, he runs right in the middle of the hole, and you sitting there looking and you saying, man, why in the world didn't he just go to the right, that big old open space over there? Because you sitting at home. And if he goes to the right, you don't know what he's going to run into. And whatever he runs into, you're not going to feel it. So from a bird's eye view, it looks like it's easier. But when you put on the pads and you put on the gear and you put on the helmet, what you see looks differently than what somebody on the sideline sees. Does that make sense? Anybody want to pull on it? Okay. Another one, transforming from spectators into participants, right? Rather than spectating, I need to participate. If I participate, I'm no longer spectating. Does that make sense? Any questions? Okay. Let's keep going. I gave you this foundational concept. Here's our mandate. Therefore, go and make disciples of all nations, baptizing them in the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. So you see, you make disciples. So you're getting some people who are followers, who are learners first, and then you baptize those people. And once you baptize them, then you teach them to observe the other things. You know what I mean? Sometimes we reversed it where we try to teach everything up front and then baptize you. When Jesus says, get them interested, baptize them, and then the teaching becomes the life journey. You never just arrive. You're always learning. True or not true? Then I share with you the idea. We're trying to get to the new stuff. I share with you the idea that you don't have to offend people to promote Jesus. One of the approaches that we've used in the past when we're doing evangelism and discipleship, those kinds of things, we'll go out and we'll offend. And we'll tell people, well, when I say we, I'm not talking about me. You would go out and evangelize and tell people that if you don't do what I'm doing, then you go bust hell wide open, right? So I'm offending you to try to convince you. Sometimes that becomes what we call fear theology. I scare you into trying to live right. Can I tell you something about that? That doesn't work. It doesn't work. When you try to scare somebody to live right, they'll act right for a little bit, but they're going to find out wasn't nothing to it. And then they're going to go back to what they were doing. Some of you were raised in houses where parents try to get you to do what you want to do out of fear. One time, my mom and dad tried that. I was a little fella, and I would jump on the couch, right? And they wanted to keep it good. They said, don't be jumping on that couch. And I would jump on it anyway. One time when they were getting ready to leave, they put a panda bear about this big. A panda bear on, he was real big. And they knew I was scared of the panda. So they put him on the couch. The purpose was, if the panda's on the couch and he's afraid of it, he won't jump on the couch. My sister, who's one of my sisters, she's 4 years older than I am, she came up to me, she said, you know that thing ain't alive, right? I said, what you mean? She said, touch it. I said, no, I'm not going to touch it. She said, no, touch it. She urged me up in there, and I touched it, and I jumped back. That thing didn't move. It didn't growl. And I went back up to it. I tugged on it, and I pulled back. Then I realized, wasn't nothing to the panda. I pulled it off, tore it up, and jumped on the couch. You cannot fear control people to live right. I want you to do it because you love me. I don't want you to do it because you feel obligated. You know what I mean? So it's the idea that I was sharing with you the last time is don't live right to try to avoid hell. Do it because you want to be with God. You know what I mean? Fear will say, well, I'm doing this because I don't want to go to hell. That's because you're afraid. I don't want you to be in a relationship with me and be afraid. I want you to love me. Make sense? And one of the things I was sharing with you at that point was you don't have to criticize and put down Buddha in order to exalt Jesus. Just simply exalt Jesus, and you'll be all right. The effective approach I shared with you last time is learning to be good listeners. Y'all remember this? Yes, no? This is all review. And Jesus modeled that, all right? Now, let's talk about becoming good listeners. How many of you consider yourself good listeners? Like for real, though. Okay. Let me see the hands again. I ain't going to do nothing to you. People be nervous, raise their hand. What he going to do? How do you know you're a good listener? I'm listening. Okay, that's good. Anybody want to add to it? Yes, ma'am. Okay. 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 Can I do something with you about communication? It's not in here. It's just triggering a thought when we talk about good listeners. Effective communication. How many believe that you're good communicators? See. It's different people now. Well, they were good listeners, but they're not good communicators. Think about this. Effective communication happens when what is shared is understood as opposed to agreeing. Let me try it a different way. Sometimes we think we're effective communicators because we talk a lot, but just because you're talking does not mean you're communicating. If I'm communicating, if I'm sharing information with you and you're not grabbing it, you're not understanding what I'm saying, we're not communicating. Communication is about connection. If we don't connect, we didn't communicate, we just had an auditory exercise. Auditory gymnastics, we were just going back and forth. But if we don't connect, we didn't communicate. Effective communication is built on connection and understanding. This is why I'm trying to get you to be a listener. It's built on connection and understanding. When I'm communicating with you and you disagree with me, If that begins to turn into a conflict, we're not communicating. Because now we just turn that about right wrong. And what you're wanting me to do is agree with you. But if I have to agree with you, then I lose myself at the expense of being with you. And that's too much to pay to be in a relationship with you that I can't disagree and you love me through that. Communication, being a good listener, is I need to be, see, if I have to agree, then that's duplication. It's not growth. Then I'm just like you. If I'm just like you, that's duplicate effort. And if it's duplicate effort, then one of us are not needed. Same thing. Communication, I should be able to say, you know what? I disagree with what you're saying. But based on how you're explaining it, I understand how you got there. That's a conversation now, because now we can talk about the differences. Follow me? But I can't even tell you where I disagree and let you talk and we work through it if I'm not listening. Does that make sense? And listening for understanding, not listening to talk. You know what that looks like? So we're talking, and you say, I'm listening to you, and we're talking, you say, but then I was on, but I don't want to interrupt you. That kind of stuff. See, you're already ready to respond, but I'm still talking. How do you know you're going to respond to the right thing? Because you don't know where I'm going to end up. Follow me? One of the things, I'm not telling you to substitute mine for yours, one of the things I do in my conversations with people, when I'm listening to it, there are times I will interrupt because I don't want to lose it. I say, just a minute. I just want to make sure I'm following. And I rehash, right? Do I hear that right? Yes, okay, keep going. Because I'm trying to track. And sometimes I have to ask for definitions because we have a different vocabulary. But I'm listening. I'm trying to connect with you. I'm not assuming we're talking about the same thing. Does that make sense? When you do that with people in life, relationships, children, church, it lessens conflict. Because what you know today is not what you knew years ago. You grew into that. Watch this. Effective listener. Anybody want to say anything about what I just said to you? Effective listeners. This is John 1, 35 through 46. I do need to read it. I'll jump through some of it because I'm hoping you are familiar with the story. The following day, Jesus was again standing with his 2 disciples. As Jesus walked by, John looked at him and declared, "Look, there is the Lamb of God." When John's 2 disciples heard this, they followed Jesus. Jesus looked around and saw them following, and he said to them, "What do you want?" Right? What are you looking for? They replied, "Rabbi," which means teacher, "where are you staying?" He says, "Come see." It's about 4 o'clock in the afternoon when they went with him to the place where he was staying, and they remained with him the rest of the day. Watch this. Andrew, Peter's brother, so Andrew and Simon, Peter's brother, was one of those that heard him, that heard what John had said, and they followed Jesus. Andrew went to find his brother Simon, told him, "We have found the Messiah," which means Christ. Then Andrew brought Simon to meet Jesus. Looking intently at Simon, Jesus says, "Your name is Simon, son of John, but you will be called Cephas," which means Peter. The next day, Jesus decided to go to Galilee. He found Philip and said to him, "Come follow me." Philip was from Bethsaida, Andrew and Peter's hometown. So Philip, Andrew, and Peter are all from Bethsaida, right? He went and got him out of there. Philip went to look for Nathanael and told him, "We have found the very person Moses and the prophets wrote about. His name is Jesus, the son of Joseph from Nazareth. Watch Nathanael. He's in Nazareth, right? Not Little Rock. That's what he said. Nazareth. Can anything good come from Nazareth? Now, they're not fussing. They're just in disconnect. He says, come see. Listen, I don't have to convince you. Watch, this is about relationship. I don't have to convince you to see it my way right then. But if we have a relationship, you're at least going to consider what I'm saying, because you know I'm not the type to just come up and bring you foolishness. If I'm sharing a conviction, even if you disagree, because it's me, he'll say, well, I'll take a look at it. He's not just going to shut me down. You know what I mean? And I could be in left field. And I've been in left field. Like on two things. But he's not going to shut me down. He could be listening to me like, oh, that's all the way wrong. But he's going, I'm going to listen to it. But here's a conversation that we have for real. He'll say things, okay, so how do you process this then? What is he doing? He's not shutting me down. He's asking me to reconsider. But he's doing it in a way of relationship. He was listening to the point where he says, hey, I need to say something, but I can't kill his spirit. So how would you reconcile this idea with this one? That creates a conversation. And I've had to say things like, well, you know what? I ain't thought about it that way. Let me go think about it, right? And then I come back and I say, Harris, I've thought about it, and I love you, but you wrong. I'm teasing. I'm teasing, man. I'm teasing. I didn't say that. What's happening? That's relationships. So let's talk about your willingness to follow Jesus. How many of you really believe in your heart of hearts right now that I'm really committed to the cause? Now, I'm not setting you up. I'm trying to get you to commit to something else. That I'm really committed to the cause. Okay? Watch how we grow. Watch how we grow. These are levels. We have what's called the impulsive wheel in our discipleship. Impulsive wheel is I do what I want to do, and I respond the way I respond because I'm impulsive. Right? Peter was impulsive. Let's go do it. That kind of thing. He's impulsive. Impulsive wheels tend to live, not all the time, but tend to live in what's called the novice believer. Y'all know what that is? Another word for novice? Say it again. I didn't hear it. Beginner. What's over here? New. Okay. Sometimes we use the phrase like new convert, that kind of stuff, right? In language, when it says, when Paul would talk to Timothy and he's talking about leaders, and he would say, but don't get a new convert. Don't get a new believer, right? The word new there, don't use this in the wrong way. The word new there in the Greek is the word idiotis, is where we get our word idiot from. See, you got offended, and Paul meant it just as new. Idiotis just means new, novice. Okay, so when you call somebody, don't worry about it, he's an idiot. You're saying he's new. That's what you should, but you mean it differently. You mean it like he don't know nothing. But the word is used to be new, novice. A reflective person that's reflective in their will, here's the thing. You start to put your thoughts, your feelings, emotions before God and letting God examine that. That is when you say, God, search me. I want to make sure I'm getting this. Search me. That's reflective. Any questions? Okay. An embedded will, see, watch the process. Impulsive, I grow into reflective, I grow into being embedded. Embedded will is now it's part of me. It's kind of my lifestyle. Follow me? I'm trying to get in tune with the heart of God. Y'all all right? When it's embedded, it's now who you are. Does that make sense? Any thoughts? Questions? Criticisms? Okay. We ready? What you got? You thinking? I see it. You good? I listen to you. She trying to hide it. There's a song that said it's written all over your face. You want me to leave you alone? You got your question? Okay. Just know I saw it. So again, the principle I shared with you the other time, and we're about to add something. Effective transformation, when we're talking about transformation, a process of lifestyle maturity, it needs to be transferable and it needs to be measurable. That it needs to be built as a process to grow people. That if I do a process that grows people, other people can leave and it'll still work. Because it's not built on a person. It's built on a process. And I ought to be able to measure that. Y'all good? Okay. This is all kind of review with the exception of the levels of the will. But I want to add something to you. So 4 types of disciples, and I want you to find where you are. You may not even be on the screen. But you've seen people like this. Now, when we're talking about discipleship, we're talking about getting people to begin to think, feel, and behave like Christ. To create an environment that encourages disciples that make disciples. But sometimes we'll run across these type of disciples and we're trying to figure out how to manage it. You have the watchers. These are the disciples that are watchers. These are the people that stand and watch. You know, you got believers like that. They don't do anything. They just stand and watch. They say they're going to do it. Let me see. They just stand and watch. Okay? Those are not, okay. Those are not the people that you want leading a ministry. Because the people that's going to work for them are going to become just like that. Then you have waiters. The waiters are the passive people. We just go wait and see. Yeah, they said it, but it's been 3 years. It ain't going to happen. Just wait and see. Right? And they think that's spiritual. Just wait and see. Then you have the wishers. The wishers, now these are good people. They have a dream. They have an idea. They have a good concept. They just don't have the know-how to implement it. But they have a good idea. They have a good dream. They have a good vision. They just don't know how to see it from start to implementation. Does that make sense? Anybody know anybody like that? Anybody like that? Like you have a lot of good ideas, but not quite sure how to make the pieces come together. So then you have to share that idea with somebody else, the know-hows. See, that's the difference between managers and supervisors, supposedly. You'll hear people that'll say, or even workers. Workers will say, I should be making what my supervisor's making because I know more about the job than they do, right? But see, if you're the supervisor and you're pulled from that job, then that job goes lacking. Supervisors say, I should be the manager because I'm running all these people. I'm managing, I'm supervising all these people, and the manager's not doing a lot of that at all. Here's the difference. A manager task is to know the right things to do. The supervisor's task is to get the people to get it done. Does that make sense? Want me to try it again? I see it. Okay. A manager needs to know what things should be done. They got to think about what needs to happen. You can always find people that know how to do it. But before you can know get people that know how to do it, you got to know what to do. And the what to do and the how to do may not be the same people. Does that make sense? Okay. All right. The people that's designing on the line at an auto factory, and they putting those pieces together, that's not the same person that did the architectural design. That guy don't need to be on the line. He needs to be designing. He needs to know how that design works with aerodynamics, but he needs some other folk that know how to put it together. Does that make sense? Okay. All right. Any questions, thoughts, criticisms? Wishers. Then you got the workers, and this is what you need. These are people who are focused on working on it. Now, in your personal life, as a disciple, if you're a worker, you're saying, listen, I'm still struggling, but I'm working on it. I'm trying to figure it out, but I'm working on it. Yeah, I'm having setbacks, but I'm working on it. You've graduated from being a wisher and a waiter and a watcher. At least you're involved. May not be everything it's supposed to be, but you're working. Y'all all right? Okay. It's not an idea. It's a lifestyle. We're good? Stages of discipleship. Now, this is Jesus, and in the next session, we're going to do Paul. Pre-disciple. I was just sharing with this passage with you. So, pre-disciple, inquiring. Jesus, where are you staying? Right? Inquiring. They have a discussion, and then there's an invitation for a relationship. You inquire, we discuss, and then we say, let's build a relationship. I got to make sure we're a good fit. Do you know that you're not for everybody? Your personality is not for everybody? If we can wrap around that and be okay with that, you know, I've been doing therapy for a long time, but I know my personality, my approach, my style doesn't work for everybody. And when I know that, I just refer them to somebody else. That's why our first session is free. It is. It's free because I want to see how we match up. I may not be good for you, and I'm okay with that. You may not be a good fit for what I do, and I'm okay with that. I don't try to be all things to everybody. I know my areas. You know what I mean? And the same is true when it comes to discipleship. You're supposed to disciple people, but everybody may not connect with your approach. But you have people around you that gravitate to you. You have people around you that gravitate to you. You have family, you have friends. So you don't have to try to evangelize everybody. Get the folk that connect to you. Inquire, discuss. And based on the discussion, what do you think if we were to just get together every Thursday and do breakfast and just talk about life? What are you doing? You're starting a process. And they're going to show up, and some Thursdays they're not going to want to come, but they're still going to come because of the expectation of them knowing that you're waiting for them. I used to do that when I lived here. I used to do that with one of the brothers that used to work out early in the morning. He used to work out early. Now, I play racquetball, but he goes to the gym and work out. And he wanted me to work out with him. And I went a few times. It was at 5 o'clock. Like being there at 5, not leaving, but actually working out at 5. I'm like, this is early. But a couple of times I went not because I wanted to. I went because I knew he was waiting for me. You know what I mean? And when I got there, I felt better about going. But when I was leaving the house, I had all kind of conversations. Right? So that's the whole thing. That's that passage I just shared with you. Inquire, discuss. Let's have a relationship. How you doing? How's life going for you? And we're just inquiring. We start discussing. Let's hang out. This is what Jesus did. He inquired, had a discussion, and then told him, hang out with me. Come see where I'm laying. Well, come see where I'm staying. Inquire. What are you looking for? That's what he said in the text. What are you looking for? What do you want? Where are you staying? Come see. There's a conversation. Then it says they stay with him, and they never left. Does that make sense? What would that look like for us to do that? Like today. That's a mindset shift. But it's right in the Bible. It's right in the Bible. Watch the process. Now, the process of transformation via the concept that I'm sharing with you called modeling. If you want change, you need to model it. Here's a true concept. It's hard to become what you've not seen modeled. That's in life. It's hard to become what you've not seen modeled. It's hard for a man to become a man if he's not seen it modeled. You follow me? Think about this. This is in real life. Who is it? Joshua, when he had to circumcise those grown men. They should have been circumcised on the 8th day. But because their parents were rebellious and all this, the fathers neglected to circumcise them, and they're grown in the wilderness. And God tells Joshua, I think about Joshua 5 or something like that. God tells Joshua, circumcise them. They're grown. Was it like 20 and up or 25, something like that? In the 20s and older to be circumcised. This is before anesthesia. This is before surgical knives. They used a flint stone. It was a stone. See, bedrock been around a long time. It was Flintstone. You take a stone, they shaped it into a knife, and you cut the foreskin of a grown man with no painkiller. So here's what I'm telling you. It's hard to become a man if you're not seeing it modeled. So now you got grown men having to deal with a pain that they should have dealt with as a boy, as a baby. But now you got grown men with boy problems. Insecure. Not knowing how to do the relationship. Not knowing how to lead because it's hard to become what you've not seen modeled. Does that make sense? Not only is that true for men, it's true for women. It's hard to become the woman that you need to be if you've not seen it modeled. And what you'll find is you'll find a lot of grown women. If you've not seen it modeled, you'll find a lot of grown women that have 8-year-old girls in their bodies who are insecure, who are nervous, who are withdrawn from, and you're trying to figure out why you do relationships the way that you do because the little girl that lives inside of you hasn't had anybody to show up for her. And so you struggle in your relationship. You push people away or you become codependent. You know what I mean? We become we do what we see modeled. You know what I mean? And you'll grow up with conviction. I'm not going to do that to my kids. And then under pressure, you do the exact same thing. You start talking like your parents. You start using the phrases. The thing is true. If that's true with men, if that's true with women, it's true with being a disciple. It's hard to become a disciple if you've not seen it modeled. So that puts us in a spot on what discipleship looks like, because how am I to disciple somebody else if I myself have not been discipled? I'm not talking about baptism. I'm talking about disciple. I'm talking about lifestyle. I'm talking about modeling. Okay? Baptism is just part of the process. It's not the process. Y'all all right? Okay. Yes, no? I'll talk to you. Let me show you what it looks like. When we teach, now, when I'm teaching leadership or something like that, or even discipleship, even my kids, when they were younger, here's a model I used, and it transfers anywhere. It starts like this, and Jesus does it too. It's called Watch Me Do It. 4 stages. Watch me do it. Do it with me. I'm going to do it with you. Then I'm going to watch you do it. Here's what just happened. It's transferring life. If I want you to do a certain behavior, when we were trying to train leaders, when I was trying to get my son to learn how to do certain things, I would do this model. I didn't know I was doing this, but I would do it when we need to do it in the church as well. When I wanted him to learn something, when we were cutting the yard or something, you know, there's a pattern to cut in the yard. Did you cut the yard the other day? You got it cut? You got it cut. Hear that? Yeah. He got the yard cut. Got it cut. That's a conversation we had at the thing, but okay, okay. I got you. I'm gonna leave you alone. It's done though. It's done though, right? Yeah, that's right. That's what matters. That's what matters. So I want him to cut the yard. I said, I need you to cut it. He said, don't I do that? I know you don't. Watch me do it. And I will cut the yard. Next time it's time to cut the yard, I said, I need you to do it with me. I'm going to do this part. You do that part. And I'm still there. Over time, as he gets better, third, then I'm going to say, I'm going to do it with you. You go ahead and start, and I'm going to be with you. Right? I'm going to help you do it. When we graduate, is now I'm going to watch you do it. I want to watch you do what I just modeled for you. You do when you're trying to help people clean up, trying to make a bed. Let me show you how to do it. You make the bed for them. Now, the next time, I need you to help me. I need you to participate. Do this bed with me. Next time, you start it, but I'm going to come help you. Now that you're good, I need to watch and see you do it. That's modeling. And a person, if you do that, they'll do the behavior that you're teaching, whether it's good or bad. If you model it, watch me do it with me, that's getting you involved. I'm about to show you Jesus did the exact same thing. Watch me do it. Do it with me. I'm going to do it with you. Now I'm going to watch you do it. Yes, ma'am. You want to try it this time? No?
I was thinking of how things was like now you were saying, you show people and people show you. But nowadays, you can show them, but they're going to keep sitting there watching you straight through and ain't going to even change, even though they know how to do it.
Okay. She said, even though they know. All right. Can I weigh in on it? You mind if I respond to it? I would go back. I'm not saying this is your situation, but what you're describing, I would go back and evaluate the relationship. Because if you connected to the way that I hope that we're connected, you're not going to be passive in the relationship if we're connected, right? Even from parent to child, sometimes we'll say, well, them children, they just doing their own thing. They won't listen. Here's the thing. Well, that's too much, because we're going to slip into therapy. Well, I'll do this part. Kids that will ignore grown parents, that's still a relationship dynamic. And what that indicates, stereotype, what it indicates is they have chosen their peer group over the authority of the parent, because when a parent pushes on a child and the child pushes back, they will go where there's no opposition. So what we have to learn to do is not push, but come alongside. And that's not being lazy. That's not being a passive parent either. That's being involved. Let me give you one. This has nothing, since we slipped into it anyway. There's a new diagnosis, and if you have little kids, sometimes you'll hear this. There's a new diagnosis that's called oppositional defiant disorder. Okay, it's called ODD. Now, I'm going to tell you from a clinician perspective, it's in the DSM-5, but I don't think it's real. Okay, it's made up. Why do you say that? Oppositional defiant disorder, and this is to kids, right, who are under 18. Put your hands together like this here, and push your left hand to your right hand, but don't let your right hand move. You know, see, listen, I'm trying to model it, and as I'm talking, he pushing, and his hand's going all the way to the side. I'm just push your left hand against your right hand, but don't let your right hand move. Push, pressure. Can you feel it? Why isn't your right hand moving? Because you're resisting it. You're opposing it. Watch how this works. Oppositional defiant disorder. Okay, put your hand right there. Don't let me move your hand. Okay, she's pushing back. That's a child. This is the parent. Okay, she's pushing back. Push. You got more strength than that. That's a problem right there. Want to be in control. When you're pushing and you're getting resistance, you cannot oppose something that's not pushing on you. Opposition means to push back. Even in conversation, if I say something you don't like, you push back. That's opposing. Opposition defiant disorder is a diagnosis they give to kids because the kids are pushing back, but they're only pushing back because something is pushing on them. And we'll diagnose the kid and do nothing about the family dynamic. You know what I mean? You medicate a child and the parents are still doing what they're doing. That's a family dynamic. You all right? Now, since that wasn't part of discipleship, I need to give y'all my cash app. Y'all need to pay for that. That was good therapeutic. Yeah. Yes, ma'am.
I had a question about the supervisorship. Okay, so if the supervisor is showing you how to do it, working with you, and then you're on your own, what if you have a supervisor not going to show you? Now, I'm not just saying on a job, but I mean even within a church or something. It's not showing you how to do it, just telling you what to do. Is that become what you would say the opposition of pushing back because they feel that they're not totally invested in what you're trying to accomplish?
We can try it. If you're a supervisor that was not trained to do what you're doing, and you're just figuring it out on the job, then yes, sometimes you will use that role, that position, to become an authoritarian. Do this because I'm saying to do it. That will cause a person to push back if we don't have the relationship. But if they are willing to come alongside and walk with you. But again, it goes back to they may not know how to do it because it wasn't modeled. Right? And we have to reevaluate all of that. You know, it's not just, you have a function or a title, title doesn't mean that you know. Doesn't mean you got a title, right? Look at our system now. There's a lot of people with titles. Even in the government, you got titles and you don't know what you're doing at all. You know what I mean? You say you had something?
Yes, said a model. We are imitators, supposed to be imitators of Christ. And our lives supposed to show it. Because a lot of people be watching you and you don't know it.
No, see how she gave it back to me? She wanted to drop it, but, she know the mic needs to be still working. Y'all couldn't see her face, but she like, she said, I said that. That's what she said. I said that. She said, y'all know that was powerful. I'm not going to even follow it up. She said, that was good. Thank you so much. Thank you. You're very, very true. Watch the stages then. All right? Watch me do it. Do it with me. I'm going to do it with you. I'm going to watch you do it. Watch it happen in Scripture. Okay. The first stage, observe and imitate. Watch me do it. Observe me. Okay. The disciples observed Jesus' authority first. Okay. Here's a couple examples on what they saw. They saw him go out and cast out demons. In Mark chapter 1, 21 through 28, this is when Jesus went into the synagogue. And they were, singing songs and reading the Torah and all that stuff. And while they're doing all of that in the synagogue, they just doing it. They're just going through their motions. Nobody's bothered. Jesus walks in, and there's a man sitting in the synagogue with a demon. He's demon-possessed in the gathering, and nobody knew it. He probably just finished leading songs. I ain't talking about you. Nah, song leader looked at me. I'm not talking about you. I'm just saying they're all together, and nobody could discern that something was off. So Jesus walks in, and when he walks in, because his spirit hits differently than the folks' spirit that were there, that demon man interrupted the gathering and says, what do you want with me? Why are you here? Jesus said, will you be quiet? They trying to finish the service. And a man kept bothering him, and Jesus cast the demon out in front of all of them, right? Y'all follow me? They saw that, okay? They saw later where he would go. You remember Peter's mother-in-law had that fever, and he went and got the fever out. That wasn't a natural fever. It was a fever caused by possession, and he cast it out. Many times, demonic forces would take on natural forces, make it hard to distinguish. Okay? He looking at me, okay? When Job was called into the council meeting that he didn't know anything about, and the enemy says, God says, where you been? He said, I've been on earth, checking out everybody. He says, have you considered Job? So they go through all of that. So Job, can I tell you something? Job goes through what he goes through, not because of something Job did. Job goes through what he goes through because in a council meeting, God brought up Job's name. See, just because you're going through stuff doesn't mean you're a bad person. Sometimes you go through what you go through because God thought enough of you to bring up your name in the meeting. And here you are about to fall out and pull out your hair. And God has said, no, I have confidence in you. But when God says, all right, you can take his stuff, but don't touch him and all that. Right after that, out of nowhere, a tornado in the desert. How does that work? In the desert. A tornado in the desert come through town and hit the four corners of the house, and the house collapsed. That's not a natural tornado. That is a manufactured demonic force working for the enemy. But it looks like nature. Follow what I'm saying? And you say, oh my goodness, a tornado came through and tore up. Have you ever seen or heard tornadoes coming down the street, hit these three houses, boom, 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 skip over and go to this side? They've had tornadoes pick up babies that are outside, take the baby to the other side of the street, let the baby down, and then hit the house next to it. That kind of sounds like intelligence. But anyhow, not just wind. I'm just saying that it'll take on the form of nature. And so when you have all those hurricanes, you think it's just as natural as all get out. When God set the systems in place, God set the systems in place to grow things, not destroy. Okay. So when you have systems that are destroying, it's not as natural as you think it is. That's all I'm saying. Anyhow, we can talk about it. They watched him cast out leprosy, right? They're watching. And they saw that he loved people. He would go to people have a hard time. The Bible will say he loved them, had compassion for them. They're watching him do this. They watch his authority. They watch his love for people. So what he's doing right now is he's saying, watch me do it. You follow me? They're watching him. Any questions? Because I want to get us to a break here in just a second. They're watching. And what's the next stage? Do it with, watch me do it. Do it with me. Okay? Stage 2. Now they're interacting and assisting him. Okay? Jesus is going to do it, but they're going to help. Okay? Okay? They're watching with Nicodemus, interacting. Now, I'm not going to go through all of this. I did this with you before. Rich Nicodemus and a rich young ruler. I can come back to it if you want me to. But watch this. Okay. Let me just walk through it. I don't have to read all of it. Stage 2, do it with me. Okay. So Nicodemus comes. Him and Jesus are having a conversation. Right? During this dialogue, a change is taking place. The disciples, not only are they watching, they're participating. Watch how this works. Let me get to where we, okay. Turn of life. Look at verse 10. Jesus says, you're a respected Jewish teacher, and yet you don't understand these things. I assure you, we tell you what we know and have seen. Who's the we? Say it again. The watchers, okay. You mean that like divine being watchers or like okay. He says, we know. Who is he with? Okay. And he's reflecting on things he's already taught them. Right? Because think about this. The we can't just be the Jews. Nicodemus is a Jew. Nicodemus is a Pharisee. Jesus is referred to as a Judean Jew. And all right, so when it says the Jews rejected him, it's not all the Jews. It's the Judean Jews. His town, his area. The Judean Jews are the ones that reject him. Nicodemus represents the Pharisees. Look at the participation. He's already taught his disciples some things. So when he's talking to Nicodemus, they're helping with this journey. He says to them, we know. I'm telling you I assure you, we tell you. But he's the only one talking. But his audience is implied, his disciples. We tell you what we know and have seen, yet you won't believe our testimony. Because we're talking too. Now follow me. Okay. Then watch it. Yet you won't believe our testimony, but if you don't believe me, he goes to the singular. Y'all see that? Okay. I don't want to do all that with you like that. I just want you to see that they're helping. Right? They're there with the teacher to help. So when King or Ware or Harris are doing a Bible study, if you're going to be some disciples and you're in training, go with them and just watch them do it. You know what I mean? Okay. Yeah, I didn't like that. Okay. Try this out. Okay, let me get through this. I've already shared this idea with you. I'll go through it with you in detail if you want me to. That's all those scriptures. Okay, I just did that. I'm going backwards, I'm sorry. Let me get through it. That was a good conversation, though. It was a good conversation. Stage 3. I want to get you through the stages. We'll break, and then we'll come back. Stage 3. So stage 1, watch me do it. Stage 2, do it with me. Stage 3, I'm going to do it with you. I'm going to give you some instructions, and I want to see how this works out. Okay? Mark chapter 6. We'll read it, and we'll talk about it. Then Jesus went from village to village teaching the people. Okay, I'm going to do it with you. And he called his 12 disciples together and began sending them out 2 by 2, giving them authority to cast out evil spirits. Now, they've already seen him cast out evil spirits. Remember that? They watched him do that. They've participated in this Bible study with Nicodemus. Now he's saying, I want to do it with you. He gives them authority to cast out evil spirits. He told them to take nothing for their journey except a walking stick. Don't take no food, no traveler's bag, no money. That would knock some of us out right there. No food. You just went to the store and bought all them little Debbie cakes. Can't take them. Can't take them. No traveler's bag, no money. And that's trust. He allowed them to wear sandals, but not to take a change of clothes. That sounds kind of rough. But the teacher is just trying to see where you are. He's trying to evaluate if it's transferring. Because here's the thing. How do you know something if you never test it? You don't know. It's theory, unless you have to do it. Wherever you go, he said, stay in the same house until you leave town. Okay? Let me go back. I'm sorry. Stay in the same house until you leave town. Now, they're casting out demons. And he's having them study, do all of that stuff they've seen him do. He said, I'm going to do it with you, though. I want to see how you do. Mark's version will say, Matthew's version will say, now, if they don't receive you, don't take offense to that. Shake the dust off your feet the same way you would if it was a Gentile. Now, what he's doing right now is he's sending them to their own people, sending them to Jews. Why test it on Jews first? Talk to me. Yes. They're the lost sheep. Okay. 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 I can buy that. Anybody else?
Yes, I think she was up to Jews. She said that's what he told the woman at the wedding.
That's what he told her. Okay.
They should have the background.
Say it again. Who, the disciples? Okay. Okay, what you got?
They would have a relationship with those people. They know those people.
Yeah, I like it. He said they know those people. He says, before I send you out to strangers, let's see how well you do with folk that know you.
All right.
'Cause y'all know how it is. You go back to your family, and you're like, hey, I want to talk to you about the Messiah. They're like, pfft, I know you ain't coming in here after all that stuff you've done. Because those folk know you. And what he's saying is, if you can sell the idea to folk that really know you, you know what I mean? Then this is working. That's why, and I'm not telling you not to do this, but when you travel and evangelize in foreign land with strangers and then leave, that's not relationship. Then somebody is going to come behind you and teach something different, and because you're not there to work that out, they'll believe it, or it creates confusion. Let's encourage to start with folk we know. Because if I start with folk I don't know, and I'm surrounded by people that I hang out with all the time that I don't know, I'm going to bring folk I don't know into a bigger gathering of folk I don't know, and ain't nobody going to know nobody. We just here. And I ain't trying to mess up nothing. I'm just, okay. Stage 4. Stage 1, watch me do it. Stage 2, do it with me. Stage 3, I'm going to do it with you. Stage 4, I'm going to watch you do it. This is where he sends them out to reproduce. Okay? Now practice, and then come back and tell me how you did. Now watch the mindset of Jesus, then we're going to see them go out. Now I'm skipping verses. This is 4 through 5, then verse 9, then verse 20 through 21. Jesus is praying to the Father. I brought glory to you here on earth by completing the work you gave me to do. I've done it. What have I done? I've transferred the mission to some other people. That's what I came to do. Now, Father, bring me into the glory which we shared before the world began. That's beautiful. He said, I've done my part. Now, give me back the glory that I had before I left. He said, I can't wait to get back. Verse 9, my prayer is not for the world. My prayer is for those you have given me. He's praying for the disciples because they belong to you. He ain't praying for the world. He's praying for the ones he's training. Okay, verse 20 and 21. I'm praying not only now for these disciples, but I'm also praying for all who will ever believe in me through their message. Well, how are they going to hear their message? They get ready to go out. I pray that they will all be one. These are the disciples. Just as you and I are one, as you are in me, Father, I am in you, and may they be in us so the world will believe you sent me. And that's one of the best testimonies we can have as believers, is for the world to look at us and know there's something different about you. He said part of the way the world is going to believe I am the Christ is based on the relationship between the believers. So what kind of testimony are we giving? You see what I'm saying? Okay, so that's what he prayed for. Now watch him. He said, now it's time to pass it on. He prays for his disciples, and now it's time to do what I've taught you to do. He said, I passed the message on to them. They accepted it, and now that I came from you, they believe you sent me. Y'all see that? Yes, no? Yes. Okay. And here's what I shared with you at the beginning. The DNA of every healthy church is to make disciples who make disciples. But you cannot make what you've not been modeled to make. You will always make what you've been modeled to make. If you've been modeled for watchers, wishers, that's what you make. And you bring somebody in and they'll do the exact same thing. But if I model discipleship and transfer it, then you pray for them the same way Jesus prayed for us. Make sense? And that's the process of lifestyle maturity. The root word is transformation. What is transformation? The process of lifestyle maturity. It's the process I go through to go from this stage in my life to the next. Let's take a break there, 5 minutes or so.
Brother Jackson, over here.
Okay, boy, that scared me.
I didn't want to present this while you was presenting your thoughts, but going back to something you said at the beginning of the session about fear.
Fear, okay.
That we should not we should not let fear be our motivating factor for going to heaven, but at the same time, we should fear God.
Okay.
So I was wondering if you could kind of speak to, how we differentiate between fearing God and a fear of, not letting that motivate us about doing what we have to do to go to heaven.
Okay. So it's not a word play. When people say, I fear God, and it does say, fear the Lord, right, with all your heart. But it's not the scary fear. The word fear there is the word respect. You need to respect God. Because God wants us to genuinely love him. If I'm doing for you what I'm doing for you because I'm afraid you're going to do something to me if I don't, that's not a relationship. That's slavery. When my parents were living, there are things I didn't like. They asked me to do, but I did it. Not because I was afraid something's going to happen to me. Out of respect, I did it. I don't like it. I'm going to do it because I respect you. And I trust that what you're asking of me, you wouldn't be asking of me if it wasn't important to you. Now, that's different than being silly and foolish and, trying to manipulate. I'm talking about somebody that really loves you. When we say fear the Lord with all your heart, he's saying respect him. Be in awe that because of his goodness and his grace and how he's handled you and treated you, that you do as a response. But if you're doing it because you're scared, it's not a relationship. Make sense? Yeah.
So it's about the way that we perceive our relationship with God. Because a lot of times, we talk to people about the church and about doing right, and the word fear comes up as if you don't, you're going to hell. I mean, it's like God is this God that, okay, if you don't do right, you're going to hell, And so I think we end up having that as the basis
Right.
of it. So, so
Yeah.
thank you for that.
When it's a fear-based theology, you're doing it not because of relationship. You're doing it because you don't like the alternative. I want my children to do for me or respond to me not because they feel obligated. I want them to do it because they love me. If I ask you, hey, bring me these things, why you can't get it? I don't need that. And I tell you, listen, don't worry about it then. Don't worry about it. If me providing for you, making sure you got food on your table, making sure you got some gas in your car and all that, if that's not enough for you to just do what I'm asking you to do, don't worry about it. I do it for myself. And then when I turn you over to yourself, see, then, you see what I'm saying? Yeah. God's like, I'm not going to fight you to love me. But if you genuinely love me, I'm going to show you I can respond way better than you can. But if you choose not to love me, I'm going to let you have it. I'm going to let you have your way. And watch how that turns out. You see what I'm saying? Did you have something? Okay. And then we're going to take a break.
Lifestyle. When you say lifestyle, what if you live in that lifestyle? Like, try to live godly. Because, you know, the Lord done brought you so far. He done did so, he done changed your life. And people surrounding you know you. You cannot hang out with the same crowd. And you don't, they look at you different. When the Lord changed you and people can see you, you can't hang out with them no more. I had to separate myself from a lot of people. And tears come in my eyes because I know he changed my life. And I cannot go back. I can't hang around with them.
So that's real life. And embrace the change. Because the closer you get to God, the further distance it puts you with your past. And the people that are in there, it's not that you're leaving them. Can I tell you something without you thinking it's offensive? I make it sound like it's going to be offensive, doesn't it? You know, we shouldn't do that. I shouldn't start it like that. You know, when people say, listen, I ain't trying to hurt your feelings, but that means you're about to hurt my feelings. You know, so let me take the preface off. You know, yeah, you know, I ain't trying to gossip or nothing. That means you about to tell something. You know, and you be, I'm listening. You know, oh, gossiping self. It's okay to outgrow people. I want you to grow with me, but I can't wait for you to grow. Because you may not want what I want. And so when you outgrow people, you don't apologize for that. That's not a better than. That's embracing what God is having to do in your life. And sometimes God would take you down a path that causes separation. I'm going to give you an illustration, and I'm going to be done for this one. We'll take a break. When you get a moment, go read Matthew chapter 16, then read Matthew 17. And what you find is at the foot of the mountain in Matthew 16 at Caesarea Philippi, when Jesus is asking those questions, who do people say I am, right? Peter, you know, they saying all that kind of stuff. Peter jumps in there, you know, you the Christ. You're the Son of the living God. He was smart. But Jesus said, you know, that's good. But you didn't get this on your own. I guess I shouldn't be reading it like I'm translating when I'm talking to you. He said, blessed are you, Simon Bar-Jonah, for flesh and blood did not give you this, but my Father in heaven. And I say you're Peter, and upon this rock I build my church. He does all of that because Peter was smart in Caesarea Philippi. A few days later, they go to Bashan, they go up to Mount Hermon, Matthew 17. Jesus transfigured. Moses pops up, Elijah pops up, they're having a conversation. While that's going on, Peter says, you know what? I got a good idea. Let's build 3 tabernacles. Let's build 3 tents. Let's build 3 meeting places. One for you, Lord, one for Moses, one for Elijah. Cloud comes down and says, stop all that. He says, listen to my son. And they got real scared. Here's what I'm trying to show you to my outgrown people. Peter was smart at the foot of the mountain. But now he's been taken to the top of the mountain. But he's been taken as a guest. You were invited into the room. Don't just think because you're in a room, you got something to say. You have to learn that just because you were smart down here, don't mean you smart up here. And we got to learn how to observe and read a room. Then he tells them when they leave, don't you tell nobody this. Right? When y'all get down there, don't mention this to nobody. Why is that? Because what you saw in this room, mountaintop conversations, ain't for bottom mountain people. If you're a mountaintop communicator, you can't talk to people at the foot of the mountain about that. They don't get it. It's not better than, it's a different room. Does that make sense? It's a different room. And it's okay. Be okay with what God does with you. Let's take about 5 minutes, and we'll come back and we'll do the last session. I'm going to need probably about 5 minutes after 12 because y'all like to talk. But I'm good with it. I'm good with it. And then we'll be done with this, and then we'll wait till the night. Yes, ma'am.
On your stages, in the model.
transgressions, Lord, you keep on being there for me. I thank you for your grace, Lord. Thank you, your unmerited mercy. I thank you for your kindness, Lord. I'm not worthy of how you're always pulling me through. I'm forever indebted to you. And in the midst of my transgressions, Lord, you keep on being there. You are there for me, Lord, Lord. Every time I need you, Lord, don't you worry about today. I know you'll be there anyway. I don't understand my own actions sometimes, Lord. Instead of doing what I know I should do, I always do things I hate. I know I ought to do the things that I should, 'cause the law is good. And in the midst of my transgressions, Lord, keep on being there for me. For what I do is not what I want to do. The evil I do is not what I want to do. How wretched I am. I need guidance from your mighty hand. And in the midst of my transgressions, Lord, you keep on being there. You are there for me, Lord. When I need my time of need, Lord, you're there for me. When I need you, Lord, 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 Lord. You were there. When I was sick, nobody else would bring me in. But you keep picking me up. You keep picking me up. You allow me to
Okay. All right, people, let's go ahead and do this last installment. This won't take forever. This is this is shorter than what we just did because now we're trying to make application. And I want to illustrate the concepts of the process of lifestyle maturity. That we have information, now let's talk about what does that look like. All right? But it's a process. So real quick, what we just left were the stages that Jesus gave us. Do it with me. Stage one. Watch me do it, stage one. Do it with me, stage two. I'm going to do it with you, stage three. That's delegation, so I'm testing to see if it's working. Then stage four, I'm expecting you to reproduce. Right? That's what we just did. That's Jesus. And he transferred it to his disciples after the Spirit comes, Acts 2. Paul picks up a model and says, now let's do maturity. So here's what that looks like. Spiritual formation, then, is based upon people who have been discipled. I need to disciple you in order to get you to a place of spiritual maturity. Make sense? Okay. It's hard to expect spiritual maturity from people who are not disciples. Jesus discipled us, taught us how to make disciples who make disciples, and now let's take that making disciple process and start doing life that we can now form spiritual maturity. Okay? Jesus trained them. Paul takes that method on making disciples, and he says, now we need to teach spiritual maturity. Now that you're here and you're learning, let's go through spiritual maturity. Let me help you appreciate a couple of things as it relates to the process that Paul is dealing with when he talks about spiritual maturity, the process. Okay? Paul doesn't directly use the word disciple. He uses the concepts of spiritual formation or spiritual maturity, but it's the same concept, it's just going further. Okay? So what we find then, the terminology changes a little bit, that after Pentecost, you'll see things referencing spiritual maturity, spiritual formation, or maturity as a whole, as opposed to discipleship. But spiritual maturity is what he's after. Make sense? Okay. So what you'll find in the Gospels is you'll find that the emphasis is on the word disciple, but when you look at the letters, the emphasis is on spiritual maturity. It's about transformation. It's about change. It's about lifestyle. Make sense? Any questions about that? I'm about to show you something as it relates to spiritual maturity. We're good? Now, anytime, interrupt me. If I'm not looking at you, if you have something, say something so I know where to give my attention to. Let's talk about spiritual formation. How many of you want to be spiritual? Let's talk about the process. Jesus commissioned his disciples in Matthew 28 to go out and make disciples. He commanded them, make disciples. In your going, make disciples. Baptizing them, teaching them, right? And that's lifestyle. Paul takes that and makes application of Matthew 28 through what he writes to the Colossians. Here's what that looks like. This is the same thing Jesus said to his disciples, but watch how Paul makes application of it. Colossians 1:28-29. So we tell others about Christ. Sound familiar? Warning everyone and teaching everyone with all the wisdom God has given us. Okay? Teaching them. We want to present them to God, perfect in their relationship to Christ, transferring. That's why I work and struggle so hard, depending on Christ's mighty power that works within me. He says, the reason I'm doing what I'm doing is I want you to have a relationship with God. That's why I'm teaching you. That's what Jesus says, teach them to observe. That's why I'm trying to bring you into a relationship, in a perfect relationship. That's what he told them to do, right? That's the same concept. It's just Paul's application of Matthew 28. Does that make sense? That's why we're doing it so hard. That's why I'm working so hard. It's not for me. It's I want you to have a relationship with God just like I do. I want you to have a relationship. See that? to be perfect in their relationship to Christ. Not scared, to be in a relationship. Okay? Now, this word perfect carries the idea of the word of spiritual maturity. It's the word teleos, which means spiritual maturity. Look at that. We want to present them to God spiritually mature in their relationship to Christ. It's the word teleos. You know, we translate it perfect, but the word that's behind it is the word teleos, which means spiritual maturity. Make sense? Because if you're spiritually mature, you're kind of perfect. Not flawless, perfect. There's a difference. All right? Spiritual maturity is about being perfect, not flawless. Okay. And that's what Jesus says. Teach these new disciples to obey all the commands I've given you, and I'll be with you always, even to the end of the age. Spiritual maturity. Don't seek flawless, speak maturity. Even to the point, in light conversations, we'll say things like this, I ain't perfect or nothing. Well, we know that. So that's a given, right? But that's you about to excuse something you did. That's how we do it. Listen, I ain't perfect or nothing. But you're stating the obvious. We know you're not perfect. So just go on and own up what you did so we can get past that. None of us are perfect. Say that again? Okay, she said, but God. Watch Paul. Watch Paul. Watch the process of spiritual maturity. Now, these are the gifts Christ gave to the church. Okay. Okay. These are the gifts that Christ gave to the church. The apostles, the prophets, the evangelists, and the pastors and teachers. I'm going to come back to that. Their responsibility, here's their function. Their responsibility is to equip God's people to do what? Okay? That sounds like discipleship. Their job, their function is to equip God's people. That's us. That's y'all. To do his work. It is the job of the people to do his work, to build up the church, the body of Christ. Right? But somehow we've placed it on a few people. And he said, these people are to function in different ways, but they do the same thing in different ways. Okay? I do it real quick, and then, now here's the thing. Okay? So we do a whole series lesson on just apostles, on what that is, and through the Bible, what that looks like, on prophets, evangelists, pastors, teachers, whole thing. But I can't do that now, because that's like a 40-minute session for each one. Take 40 minutes to talk about apostles, about the word. Anyhow, part of an apostle, okay, apostolos, to send out, right, to be sent. So apostles are to train others to be sent to build up the body. Prophets are designed to teach people to discern the will of God. You know what I mean? Those are two different functions. We're going to send you over to Lone Oak to work with them. See, we sent him to do some work. We're going to train you. You got people that can train you to hear and discern the will of God. Evangelists, proclaimers of the truth, going around teaching. You need people that can do that to teach you to do that so you can build up the body. The pastors and teachers. Now, without me bothering theology. Don't substitute mine for yours. And I don't know how, in some circles, and I'm not, if it's here, I'm not meaning anything by it. I'm just trying to, it says the pastors and teachers. In some circles, they kind of combine them to say these are teaching pastors, right? Like they're one and the same. I take a different approach with that. I think they're separate. That is the pastors and the teachers, and I explain it. Because I know, now pastors should be able to teach. But I know some teachers that don't pastor. See that? But if you did it in language, they're separate. See where it says the, and sometimes we'll say, well, they're the same because there's no the with teachers. Well, we do the same thing in our language too. I'll show you in just a minute. The pastors, if you do it in language, you'll see something that says tolios de, that says and the, right? So it will say tolios de apostles, tolios de prophets, tolios de evangelists, tolios de pastors, tolios de teachers. So in the language, there is a and the teachers, right? But here's how that works. The is implied because of where it sits after the and. All right? Watch. We make an announcement. We're going to have a meeting in room 5. I want all the parents. No, I want all the teachers, all the faculty, all the parents and students to come to this room. Now, parents and students are not the same, but it is implied the parents and the students. I just said I want the parents and students to come. They're not the same. It's implied. It's our language. All right. That's what it, anyhow. But this is to go on. Any questions about that? This is to go on until we come into the unity of our faith and knowledge of God's Son, that we will be mature in the Lord, measuring up to the full and complete standard of Christ. It's about spiritual maturity. Y'all see it? Any questions? Okay, if y'all want to talk about those words later, when everything is over, we can do it. You want to do it now? About what? Okay.
The teacher can be male or female. A pastor has to be male. So the pastors are also teachers, but they're teaching male and female. Whereas the teachers can be male or female, but they are teaching. They have Pacific people. The ladies can teach the women, and the men can teach the men. But that's the way I see it, to break it down, to show the difference. Correct me.
It's too many people. You want me to? I can. You want me to correct you? She said, correct me. First of all, no, I'm just, that's not how you correct people. We would have to work through a little bit about the words, teachers and pastors. I think it's forcing the issue when we gender specific say women can only teach women and men only teach men. You may know some stuff that these men don't know, and somebody need to teach it. Now, that's not pastoring, that's teaching. It's kind of like having a woman oversee the money. If she's an accountant and she knows what she's doing, why wouldn't you use the resource to do that, and you're going to force somebody that don't understand accounting to do it because they're male? I don't think you're going to find culturally or biblical support to do that. I think that's kind of pushing hard on the word. Now, if that works and nobody's fussing about it, if it works in the culture, I'm fine with that. But to mandate it would be different than the Bible. Now, I could go further. That makes sense, though? Do you? Or are you just saying it for me to leave you alone? You want me to leave you alone? She said, leave me alone. But no, we would have to spend times on the words, and we could walk through it. In fact, I'm going to show you something. I'm going to show it to you, and you just got to deal with what it is. I didn't write this. It's a scripture. I got you. And we're going to see about that woman thing. And I'm not suggesting anything. I'm just going to let the text teach what it teach. If you're struggling with it, you're not struggling with me. You're trying to reconcile your view, your worldview, against what the Bible says. That's all that is. And I'm just serving as the man in the gap to make the conversation work. Make sense? And when I leave, all that stuff you don't agree with, go to these guys. I'm only here because they asked me to come. If it don't work out, you don't talk to them. Yes, ma'am.
I did not hear a comment.
About what?
I did not hear I didn't hear what she said. The sister.
Okay.
The comment that she made.
Okay. She had said she separates the pastors and teachers, and I agree with her. But she said that in her understanding of teachers is pastors are men who teach, and they can teach anybody, but teachers are more like gender specific, where women teachers teach women and men teach men. Yeah. But I want to show you something. So the 4 stages of spiritual maturity. So we got 4 stages of discipleship from Jesus, 4 stages of spiritual maturity of discipleship. So we got life stage, what's needed at that stage, the discipler's role, and then Paul's role. And as you're discipling people, you'll become the Paul. Make sense? If you're discipling somebody, you'll become the Paul. Stage 1 is infancy stage. Then we go childhood, then we go adolescence, then we go adult. Paul addresses the people he's writing to in these different stages. That's why I'm using the terms. You know, you're babes, you're infants, you're children, you're young, you ought to be mature, you're an adult, right? He's going to use it. So in the infancy stage, this is where you model and direct. They don't know, so you got to model it. Follow me? In the infancy stage, they're new, they're idiotis. They're new. So I need to model for you what we do and why we're doing it. I need to model for you what it looks like to live as a disciple. The disciple's role at this point is to imitate what you're doing. Paul would say something like this: imitate me as I imitate Christ. And when you imitate me as I imitate Christ, you're really imitating Christ because that's what I'm doing. Paul's role, then, is to be the model. Does that make sense? Okay. Then if you move to childhood, this is where you start to get some, a little rebellion and some pushback on some things. This is when they need some unconditional love because they're trying to figure it out. Right? When a person is coming out of a habit and they're trying to form a new life, they're going to fight. They're going to rebel. They have to go through the withdrawals. You can't get past that. You can lessen the withdrawals, but you have to experience them. You know what I mean? They need unconditional love, which means we have to understand what stage they're in. If you're mature and you're fussing with someone that's immature, that's immature. Right? Here's a proverb that sounds like a contradiction, but it's about timing. Proverbs 5, maybe. It's in the book of Proverbs. He says, don't answer a fool. Right? Is that right? About Proverbs 5, maybe. Don't answer a fool, for that is to your dissipation. And then the same verse, the next verse says, answer a fool according to his folly. What are you going to do with that? The first part of the verse says, don't answer a fool, for that's dissipation or debauchery for you. Then he says, answer a fool according to his folly. You have it, teacher? Is it in it? You find it now? Okay. Here's what it is. What do you do with that? What the proverb writer is saying is you got to know when to respond to what's going on. There's a time that you don't answer a fool because it's going to lead to more division. He said you don't get involved in that. But there is a time you answer a fool according to their folly so you can help them understand that this doesn't make sense. You don't do it when they're trying to fight. You don't answer that. I'm not going to fight with you. But if they've been foolish and they genuinely believe that's what that is, you need to respond to that. Make sense? But you don't have to fuss with people. That's why you do that unconditional love. If they're acting a clown, if you participate in that, you just join the circus with them. You know what I mean? You just got in the circus. Unconditional love. The role of the disciple at this point is they're trying to figure out who they are, what this walk looks like. And when you're asking me to give up certain things, to live a different way, I'm going to fight you. Not me, I'm saying the people. I'm going to fight you because I'm trying to figure out what's my new identity then. When this is happening in the childhood stage, your job is to function as the hero. Give them somebody to look up to. See that? You model, give them somebody to look up to. When they get into the adolescent stage, this is where you start doing, this is that, let me do it with you. You start giving them some freedom. You start asking them to do some things. And you watch it. You watch them start to form and shape. You encourage them. Keep going. Good job. See, that's this is what they need. They need encouragement at this point. Good job. So you need to learn how to be an encourager. Support them. Right? Cheer them on. They need a cheerleader. When they're in the maturity stage, so maturity and reciprocity, here's what that looks like. Now they're participating, and your job is now you see them as a colleague. We're peers. This is so important, what I'm showing you about this adulthood, because I'm about to show you a passage. Mutuality and reciprocity. I no longer see you. Even Jesus did it. When they got to a point, he said, I no longer call you servants. I call you friends. And I'm going to tell you what's getting ready to happen to me because a friend doesn't keep their secrets. And so Jesus shares with them. But he couldn't share it when they were infants. He couldn't share it as they were maturing. But when they got to the point where he says, now y'all can handle what I need to tell you, I no longer call you a servant. I now call you my friend. You're not the infant anymore. You're not the child. You're not the adolescent. Now we're peers. Paul's doing the same thing. You follow me? Now, when a person is participating and you've trained them and is transferred and they become your peer, watch this. Okay. So at this point, stage one, the church at Corinth is about 5 years old. Here's what Paul would say to them. This is imitate the disciple. This is infancy. Dear brothers and sisters, when I was with you, I couldn't talk to you as I would to spiritual people. See that? That's discerning where a person is. There's stuff I want to say to you, but I can't because if I say it now, it's going to disturb your mind. That's what Paul is saying. I couldn't talk to you as spiritual people. I had to talk to you as though you belong to this world or as if you were infants in Christ. I had to feed you with milk, not with solid food, because you weren't ready for anything stronger than that. That's honest, right? And the teacher has to be able to discern, I can't give that. I want to, but I can't. Because, your digestive tract hasn't developed to handle, so he said, I'm going to give you milk. I couldn't give you anything stronger. And you still aren't ready. This is 5 years later. And you still aren't ready. For you are still controlled by your sinful nature. That's meaning that you are walking under the control of your flesh. You have a spiritual overtone. You say spiritual phrases, but you live worldly. Why do you say that? You are jealous of one another. Anybody know any churches like that? You're quarreling with one another, fussing. He says, doesn't that prove that you're controlled by your sinful nature? Aren't you living like people of the world? Y'all see that? Infancy. And that's 5 years. In 5 years, they're still struggling. Okay? Watch this. Now, emphasis to the Philippians. Dear brothers and sisters, pattern your lives after mine. Learn from those who follow our example. For I have told you often before, and I say it again with tears in my eyes, that there are many whose conduct shows they are really enemies of the cross of Christ. Yeah, you're here, and you've been doing it for a little while. But he says, but your conduct really says you're fighting this transformation. Does that make sense? Okay. Stage 2, I'm trying to show you stages on how he addressed them. Stage 2, unconditional love. Galatians 4, oh, my dear children, I feel as if I'm going through labor pains for you all over again. And they will continue until Christ is fully developed in your lives. That's unconditional. He said, I know you're struggling. And I hate the spot you're in right now. And I'm praying for you. I even cry for you. It's like me giving birth to you all over again. That's painful. Make sense? Look how he does the Thessalonians. We loved you so much that we shared with you not only God's good news, but our own lives too. We sacrificed for you. We gave up things for you. Make sense? Yes, no? I'm trying to get you to maturity and then we'll be done. Okay? We gave up our lives. We spent time with you. That's doing life on life. Sound like what Jesus said. Spiritual maturity. Okay? That's what that is. He says, I'm encouraging you. I'm trying to comfort you. I'm trying to get you to keep going. Stage 3. Exhortation. This is when you start to gain your independence. Now you're functioning as a coach, and a disciple is somebody that's trying to be coached. Watch how this works. You know, his relationship with his relationship with Timothy. Here's what he says to the Philippians about his relationship, because he's training him. If the Lord Jesus is willing, I hope to send Timothy to you soon for a visit. Then he can cheer me up by telling me how you are getting along. I have no one else like Timothy. Isn't that something? That's relationship. Who genuinely cares about my welfare. All the others care only for themselves and not for what matters to Jesus Christ. But you know, talking about the people, you know how Timothy has proved himself. Like a son with his father. He has served with me in preaching the good news. See, he did it with me. I hope to send him to you just as soon as I find out what's going to happen to me here. He's going to send Timothy, and Timothy's going to do to them what Paul has done to him. Because Paul ain't going to be with him. Make sense? Yes, no? Here's that passage that I was talking to you about, I think. Now we see each other as partners. Okay? Okay. I'm going to show it to you. You read it. If we need to explain it, I do the best I can. But let the passage say what it says. Okay? Don't force it to say something else. This is bringing out the best in the disciple. This is Paul talking to the Clement, Euodia, and Syntyche. Euodia and Syntyche are women in Philippi, along with Lydia. Right? Yeah, Clement is a male. Euodia and Syntyche are two women who had influence in Philippi. Here's what Paul says to the Philippian church in Philippians 4, 2 and 3. He says, now I appeal to Euodia and Syntyche. Please, he's talking to them, because you belong to the Lord, settle your differences. Settle your disagreements. Settle your conflict, Euodia and Syntyche. I ask you, my true partner, okay, to help these two women, for they worked hard with me in telling others the good news. They worked along with Clement and the rest of my co-workers whose names are written in the book of life. I'm not telling you what to do with that. I'm just telling you to read the passage. He says, help Euodia and Syntyche to work out their differences because they worked with me in telling the people the good news. The good news is the gospel. Okay. You don't pull it, I ain't gonna pull back. It's just right there. Watch. Now, I call this Paul's Spiritual Formation Institute. Here's what I want you to see. There are people Paul trained that don't get the stage. And sometimes we think because they don't have the stage or we don't hear their names that these are only people he trained. Paul trained a lot of people. Just because they don't have the stage don't mean he didn't do it. Watch, I'm going to show you. Timothy, he trained Timothy from Lystra, right? He got Luke from Antioch, Titus from Antioch, and by the way, Titus is Luke's younger brother. All right? So when you're reading the book of Acts and you're reading Luke and all that kind of stuff, when Titus is included, he don't bring up Titus's name. It's his brother, but he's included. Anyhow, Titus is Luke's younger brother. You got Epaphras from Colossae, Gaius from Derbe. Paul trained all these people. Some of these people we don't know, but it's all in the book of Acts. Sopater from Berea, Aristarchus from Thessalonica. If you're in Greece, they say Thessaloniki. Secundus. Y'all know these people? They're all in the Bible. All in the Bible. That's like coming to McAlmont and say, you know, Brother Harris up there, Thea's up there, Ware's up there, Foster's up there, and they stop. And y'all like, we here? You know what I mean? All these people are here, but he only named a few people. Yeah, just because he named a few don't mean y'all ain't here. See, these people don't get the stage. You don't have a book written to Secundus or Aristarchus or Sopater. But he trained them all. And I'm going to show you, they still did work. They planted churches that you think, all right, they planted churches by the power of Paul. Tychicus is in Ephesus. Trophimus is in Ephesus. Now watch this. Here are churches planted involving these people. Paul, during this Asia Minor journey, this is his third missionary journey, he's going to plant Ephesus, Troas, and Illyricum. Epaphras, his worker, is going to plant Colossae, Laodicea, and Hierapolis. Epaphras lives in Colossae. He's going to plant that church there. That's his hometown. He's going to plant Laodicea, and he's going to plant Hierapolis. Can I show you something real quick? Oh, we're 7. Oh, man. Can you give me like 5 minutes? Okay. I'll go through it in 5 minutes. But what I want to show you is this Colossae, Laodicea, Hierapolis. It's real cool. In Revelation, when he talks to the church in Laodicea, he'll say, I wish that you were either hot or cold. But because you're lukewarm, I'm going to spit you out of my mouth. Can I give you a spiritual principle of what's happening there? When you go to Turkey and you do the 7 churches with me, you're going to go to Colossae, Laodicea, Hierapolis. You're going to see them, and you're going to see the other churches too. Laodicea is like right here. Watch what happens in the text. Laodicea is right here. Hierapolis is over here, like northwest. Colossae is like northeast over here, like this. And Laodicea is right here. So when Jesus says, I wish you either hot or cold, but you're neither. You're lukewarm. And because you're lukewarm, I'm going to spew out of my mouth. He's not asking you to choose. He said, I'm cool with either. Here's what that is. Hierapolis, all right, Laodicea don't have their own water ducts, so they have to pump it in. Hierapolis has hot water, like hot springs. Hot water. Colossae has cold water. When they pumped it in from Hierapolis, by the time it got there, it wasn't hot, it was lukewarm. When they pumped in the cold water from Colossae, by the time it got there, it wasn't cold, it was lukewarm. He is saying, I would rather you guys be like Hierapolis or be like Colossae. I'm cool with both. But because you're lukewarm, and see, we've taken, well, I'm fire for the Lord, you know. He's not saying choose. If you're hot for the Lord, Hierapolis, I'm good with it. That's productive. If you're cold, that's good. That's productive. But this lukewarm stuff don't work. All right? So as co-workers, these other guys, Sopater, Secundus, Trophimus, they plant Smyrna, Thyatira, Sardis, Philadelphia, Pergamum. Those are the other churches you read about in the book of Revelation. They're in Turkey, or Asia Minor then, but it's modern-day Turkey. Look at all that work they did. But you only get the names of a few. But all of that's in Acts. If you read the book of Acts, it's there. And I shared this with you when we first started about how you ended up in Rome, because we're almost done. You ended up in Rome. You know, he asked Priscilla and Aquila to move back to Rome, Epaenetus, Phoebe, Rufus. Look at all these people coming to transplant the church in Rome. Junius, his relative, you know, Urbanus, all these people he trained for different purposes. You know, Peles. And here's what we learned from that. Jesus' plan for disciples has not been disavowed. We just ignored it. He's taught us how to make disciples. Paul continues how to help us get spiritually mature. It's not that the system is broken. We've just ignored it. Make sense? Here's where I started with you, and here's where I'm going to leave you. Discipleship, the process of helping people become like Christ in their thoughts, their feelings, and their actions. What I'm suggesting to you as we close, the effective transformation process is to be the way that you can determine if you're healthy is the DNA of every healthy church is to make disciples that make disciples. The primary role is to create an environment that'll grow disciples who make disciples. And the passages I've shared with you were connected to that idea on how does that work. And this is where we started, is Paul would say, don't copy the behavior and customs of this world, but let God transform you. And when we talked about transformation when I met you, what I shared with you is you don't get this transformed body by going to the gym once or twice a week for 60 to 90 minutes. You don't get this body eating healthy on gym days and then eating junk food. You don't get this spiritual transformation that you read the Bible on Sunday, but it's a cup holder on Monday, Tuesday. If you're not in it during the week, it's not going to become part of you. If the only time you access the Word of God is when someone say turn to, because you're here and you're reading it, but then we're done, right? You're not, I'm not talking about you, I'm talking about the process. You're not doing the things to keep you healthy. And then you get frustrated on why you're not gaining weight and you're losing weight. So if I don't eat that stuff, I lose weight. No. I'm talking about spiritual maturity and spiritual weight. You know, you don't want to lose weight spiritually. You want to gain weight. And this is what I said to you when we started on Tuesday. Spiritual maturity is not an idea. It's a lifestyle. Does that make sense? It's a lifestyle. And the question we have to answer, are we going to be church or are we going to be community? Community is about doing life together. Don't copy the behaviors of this and customs of this world. Don't slip back into your old ways, but let God transform you into a new person. That transformation, the metamorphosis, is the process of spiritual maturity. And here's how we go. When we talk about our commitment, this is where we started. If that be true, and this is what transformation looks like, we need to be honest and ask ourselves, what are we producing? Are we producing disciples of Jesus? Then we ask the question, what business are you in? And we have to be honest and ask, how's business? How's business? Our mandate is Matthew 28. Go, make disciples, baptize them, teach these new disciples, and I'll be with you to the end of the age. That's the process of lifestyle maturity. Thank you guys so much for being here.
I want to thank all of you for your participation in the workshops. But I want to tell you now, it's not all over. We still got one more lesson, and that's tonight at 6:30. I want to thank Brother Jackson for taking this time to share this thought and this process with us. You will hear more about this from us because we have to make some changes. For years, we get a, quote, gospel meeting, and we talk about how great the preacher was, and some say how bad he was, but we fall right back into the same mode. But Brother Jackson has given us some things that we need to do. We got to do this, and we, Brother Harris and I, we are committed to try to get us out of this mode of coming here on Sunday, declaring ourselves faithful, going home. It's nice to come here. It's nice. But we got to start learning how to live and conduct ourselves and be the disciples that God would have us to be. Let's build these relationships. And you know, we don't have to worry about, as we say, getting people wet. take them down into the water. They come up singing hallelujah, and we don't see them no more. We got to do better than that, brothers and sisters, and I think we can. Let me get off my soapbox and say, thank Brother Jackson again for being so gracious to come here with us and work in this capacity. I want to say two things. We have a sister that decided that we needed some kind of snack after the session. So if you go down to the conference room, she brought a nice cake for you to have. So you go down there and you can get you some cake, some bottle of water. Now what I need you to do is Marcia and Sonia and I, we need you to help us get rid of this cake so Brother Harris won't be down there eating it all the time. We don't need this snack. We don't need this snack. So you all come on down and get some cake. I want to apologize to all of you, and also I did this with Brother Jackson yesterday. You know, I get excited about a lot of things, and things be going through my mind, and I did not mention the love offering for Dr. Jackson tonight. So if you're coming back tonight, please come prepared to do a love offering. We're going to do a love offering, and again, this is for your participation. If you want to, fine. We are also going to make it available that if you don't bring your check, we're going to set it up so you can do it online. So you'll be able, so you can make those funds directly to Dr. Jackson. All right. I want to say again, thank you for being here, Brother Harris. You would like to have some remarks on the workshop? It's scary. And Brother Harris is going to give us our dismissal from this particular session. Again, thank all of you for being here.
When you're sitting in a class with a teacher you're not accustomed to, you're just waiting to see if he's going to stab you or hug you. We've gotten both the hug and the stab. So we're ready now to do something. Let's do something with what we've shared this week. Let's not just remember it and think about it. Let's find a way to put it in action, personally and collectively, so that we can see results going forward. Dr. Jackson, thank you very much for the time and for the effort. And if you happen to drop your notes by my door, don't worry about picking it up. I'll get it up for you. Come back this evening. Let's pray. Father in heaven, we thank you for your kindness and love and for the blessings that you've given us and for the exposure of your word that we've allowed us to receive in the speaking of our speaker today and throughout this series. Bless us now as we receive the word and the teaching that he's given us, that we may process it within and then actuate it outside going forward as we live the life you've called us to live. Bless us in the interim between now and this evening session, that we'll be able to be back tonight for a final dose of his message. In Christ we pray. Amen.